Yo, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the New Jersey Devils. And I'm actually happy that I waited to make this video because the Devils have an interesting summer ahead of them. As they moved up in the draft lottery, they are now selecting second overall. So that may play into what they decide to do this summer, so we're going to go over that today. So, the New Jersey Devils, another bad season. They missed the postseason once again. They haven't made the playoffs since the Taylor Hall Hart Trophy winning season back in 2018. It's been 4 seasons for the Devils, and even before that 2018 run, it was a pretty good stretch before that they missed the postseason. So what's next for New Jersey? I mean, New Jersey is one of those teams you look at that every year there's optimism, right? They do well in the draft and they get a big free agent. That's been the storyline the last couple years, but they haven't been able to win. And when you look at this team, quote unquote, with a healthy roster, that is something to account for. This Devils team actually looks pretty solid, especially when you look at some of their younger players. Obviously, you have Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier down the middle. You also have some depth guys that have looked pretty good, guys like Jesper Boqvist and Michael McLeod. And then on the wing, there's some pretty good talent there as well. Again, it hasn't been consistent enough. That's been the biggest problem. They have Pavel Zacha, Alexander Holtz, Jesper Bratt, Yegor Sharangovich, Nolan Foote, Fabian Zetterlund, even guys like Dawson Mercer. I mean, the Devils have a lot of good prospects here. And it's so frustrating when you look at, the injuries. They have dealt with injuries all season. You look even up front, right? Jonas Siegenthaler, oh no, he's a defenseman. Tomas Tatar was out. Miles Wood was out the entire season. Jack Hughes was out for the end of the season. It was just a lot of things that didn't go well for the Devils. But really, their bigger points of contention are their defense and their goaltending. So that's what we're going to get to. So their defense is very interesting. You've got Ryan Graves and Damon Severson. I think those guys are pretty good. I don't think there's much really to say about that. And Dougie Hamilton is obviously a good defenseman, but he struggled this season for the Devils. Everybody else in the bottom 6, nothing against guys like Kevin Ball, Nikita Okatuyik, and PK Subban. And even, for that matter, Jonas Siegenthaler, there's not enough depth there. And that's really where the Devils have struggled defensively, is they don't have, and the guys that they do have there, guys like Colton White and Ty Smith, you expected him to take a step forward this year. That wasn't the case. And I think that really hurt them because they were really hoping Ty Smith would become, at the very least, a third-pairing defenseman and hopefully a top 4 defenseman at some point in his career, right? That's really the ceiling for Ty. So the fact that he kind of took a step back really hurt the development of that Devils blue line. Of course, with all the injuries, that didn't help matters either. And when you look at the Devils' depth in terms of prospects on the blue line, you have guys like Riley Walsh, who are really their top prospect at this point. Michael Vukovic and Shakir Madulin, who was the Islanders draft pick from 2020, I want to say, or 2021. So that's 2020's 20th overall pick, and that's the Islanders pick from 2020. Okay, so with that said, though, I think the Devils need that, again, you talk about Dougie Hamilton being that X-factor defenseman, right? But they don't really have that. And I think, honestly, if I'm the Devils here, I would keep that draft pick. And the reason I would keep that pick is because I'm looking at the draft this year. And I'm looking at Simon Nemec. I think that is a guy that can make a difference for them. Because, again, unless something is really out there that you really like, I think I'd go with Nemec. And the thing is, who are you going to get in a trade that's better than that? Because I don't really know if somebody's out there that's going to do that. Now, this is from NHL.com. Let's take a look at what they've got here. So right now, they have Shane Wright, Logan Cooley, Cutter Gauthier. There's no way this is still relevant, right? This seems old. Yeah, no, this is old. I apologize for that, guys. That's very, very old. So this is from The Athletic. We're going to try that. Okay, so they're gonna make me pay. Okay, even though I have an account already, but sorry about that, guys. Let's see, because I want to see who we're looking at here. Top 16, perfect. This is what we're looking for. Okay, yeah. So obviously Shane Wright to Montreal. That kind of seems like the guy. Logan Cooley. So they have the Devils selecting Logan Cooley. Do they need another center from West Mifflin, PA? Oh, so he's pretty close. Then you got Juraj Slavkovsky. So the first defenseman is going at 4 to Seattle, and that's David Jiricek and Simon Nemec. Those are the top 2 defensemen you're looking at here, and they're going at 4 and 5 in this draft. So, top defenseman taken, solid second defenseman for a team that can't go wrong. Anyway, they picking this high. Yeah, so I don't know. It depends on what you think of Jiricek and Nemec. If the Devils aren't sold on those guys being like a Victor Hedman type defenseman or maybe like a Cale Makar, maybe they will trade that pick, because I think that when you have a draft like this where you're not really sure what those defensemen are going to be, like, you're taking a risk. We always know the first defenseman that gets picked is always a risk, because then you see guys like Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes that get drafted later in that top 10 end up being the better player. That's just how this works, because it's hard to really read what these defensemen are going to develop into in the next 4 to 5 years. And in the top 10, those are the only 2 defensemen expected to be taken. So that's really it. So if you're not sold on Jiricek or Nemec, that's pretty much it. And I think the Devils, a lot of what they do this offseason is going to be reliant on what they do with that second overall pick. Do they go with the draft pick and select a defenseman, or are they going to have the mindset of, at this point, let's trade that pick for a guy that's ready? Now, the question is, you have to find a team that wants to trade a top-pairing defenseman for the second overall pick. And how many teams are going to do that? I mean, let's be honest, right? Where is that going to happen? So, in terms of that, again, that's really what a lot of this is going to rely on. So the Devils this offseason, they have a lot of RFAs this year. They have 3 RFAs with arbitration rights. You have Pavel Zacha, Jesper Bratt, and Miles Wood. And it's hard to evaluate really Miles Wood and Jesper Bratt. Miles Wood for the reason that he's been injured for most of this season. Jesper Bratt because he's been so inconsistent, but he played really well to end the year. I think he hit career highs in terms of goals and points this season. But just inconsistency. Like, it's hard to figure out what he's going to get paid. Pavel Zacha, he's going to see a raise. I think they do want to keep Pavel Zacha because he's one of the wingers that's really going to help drive this team forward. Another guy coming off of his entry-level deal, Jesper Bokvist. I think he's a nice depth center for the Devils. Jimmy Vesey and Mason Geertsen, I don't think will be returning. PK Subban, that $9 million gets alleviated for, thank God. Devils get themselves out from under that. But here's the thing. There's going to be a lot of changes to this blue line. So you've got Dougie Hamilton, who's here for forever. And that's it. PK and Colton White, they need new contracts this year. Probably not going to see Subban come back. But then Damon Severson, Ryan Graves, Jonas Siegenthaler, and Ty Smith are all due for a new contract next summer, 2023. So that's going to be very interesting to see what the Devils do with those guys. Severson's 27 years old. He's in his prime, and he has the potential to be walking out as a UFA. The Devils got to be careful with that. They got to figure out what they're going to do with him this summer, and don't wait till next summer to figure out what's next. Same thing for Ryan Graves. Also a UFA. And then Siegenthaler is arbitration eligible next year. They may not even keep Siegenthaler, depending on how things go, again, at the draft, who they add this summer, and Ty Smith. And I think Ty Smith is still a wild card, because are you going to see first season, rookie season of Ty Smith, or sophomore slump season of Ty Smith? And I think the Devils need more time to evaluate that. And considering he's an RFA, he's 22 years old, probably 23 next summer, there's no reason to rush that. That's something that can wait till next summer. And just give him another year to evaluate throughout the roster, see what he is. But the other 2 guys, like I said, Graves and Severson, you gotta figure out what they are gonna do because they're probably gonna see raises. Graves is making a little over $3 million. Severson's making a little over $4 million, and they're practically the same number, just $1 million. It's like freaky. It's $3,166,000 for Graves, and then exactly $1 million more for Severson. I don't know how they came to that number, but that's what they came to. So again, when you're looking at that, and they're also left shot and right shot defensemen. So I think Graves, who's a right shot, or Severson, who's a right shot defenseman, might command a little bit more money. But I think the Devils, like I said, I think defense is going to be very interesting because, again, when you look at, do they even move Severson or Graves? Like, what do you do here? You know, because if they don't want to re-sign, is it worth waiting till the trade deadline next year, till they said you knew all along that they didn't want to come back? Or do you go with the mindset that, well, we want to see how this season plays out. If we're good, we'll keep these guys. If not, we'll move them out at the deadline for less, but we're going to move them out, and it's worth it because we know where we stand at that point. So I think that's honestly what the Devils will probably do. But with that said, though, they have a lot of flexibility here, especially on the blue line, because of all those contracts coming off the books. Again, really other than Dougie Hamilton, who is going to be there for a while, pretty much eons. So that's what you have there. And then goaltending. So goaltending is kind of the same thing. They aren't really tied to any goaltender here. Jonathan Bernier, all their goalies will be out by 2023, which means next summer they will not have a goalie past that time. Bernier's contract ends next year. Hammond and Gillies both come off the books this year. I could see them letting both of them walk. Honestly, I think they're going to go with Blackwood, Bernier, and I think they want to see more of Nico Dawes. Nico Dawes is still a very young goalie, though. He's 21 years old, but he is the, oh God, I can't believe I'm giving that tag, the goalie of the future in Jersey. So if Nico Dawes is your guy, I think we're going to see sort of a similar situation to a lot of teams. You know, maybe they will go with the 3 goalie situation because of just how, unfortunately, unreliable Bernier and Blackwood have been. Like, they have not been healthy. So if that's the case, maybe they do keep one of Hammond or Gillies in the fold. Or they keep both. They do what they've done this year, and then that way they can allow Dawes to develop in Binghamton with the Binghamton Devils. Maybe they just do that, right? So I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Devils do with their goaltending and defense because, like I said, there's not really a ton of tie into that right now. And even for forwards, I mean, the only 2 forwards that are here long-term are Heishier and Hughes. Everybody else is due for a contract by 2023. So again, I think there's still, with the new management here with Fitzgerald, and considering they've got 3 4th-round picks this year, we could see them maybe, I don't know. I really don't know what Fitzgerald is thinking because there is just so much that can change here. And when you look at what he's done here over the last couple months, he traded Nate Schnarr for Hammond, Gillies for future considerations, Butcher for future considerations. He moved out Butcher and Yaros before the deadline. So just weird moves, and not really that many drastic moves by the New Jersey Devils Fitzgerald. And maybe now that he's the official GM, he's going to be more, he's going to have more control over the team to make bigger moves. So I think the Devils right now, for the most part, a lot of this is kind of wait and see, because I think if on July, let's say they keep the draft pick, right? They select their guy with the draft pick. That's going to right there kind of tell you what their mindset is for next year in terms of we're still waiting and we're going to trust the process, continue to draft high draft picks, and kind of just go through with it and not really pushing to make the playoffs next year. because I hate to say, you look at that Metro division, I mean, it is not an easy division. We could see a little shift, though, next year, because you look at the top, right? You have Carolina, the Rangers, and then things kind of drop off from there because there's so many fringe teams. You look at what's Washington going to be next year? What's Pittsburgh going to be next year? The Islanders. Those are three teams right there that you would expect to be playoff teams. And then obviously you have Philly, who's probably going to suck. New Jersey, we still don't really know. And that's kind of your division right there. So, and Columbus, who's probably good. You know, for some reason, Columbus is always in the mix, right? Kind of like they were this season. But ultimately, doesn't make the playoffs. So, I think the Devils have to evaluate how do they stack up in the division. And if they're one piece away, meaning that ends up being a guy on the market, either in a trade, or a guy that's available in the free agency market, then maybe they have to decide that, all right, we're going to trade the first round pick, the second overall pick, and we're going to go for it next year. And that way they're going to go into the summer and saying to their free agent guys and their own guys that they want to re-sign, listen, you know, we want to make the playoffs next year. We want to add some depth to this roster. We want to add a solid goalie and kind of move on from there, because I think they want to move out Black. I think they're going to redo the goalie thing. I think the only guy that's really untouchable in that goalie group is Nico Dawes, because I think they want to see what he is. But in the meantime, while they wait for him to develop, I could see them going after a goalie this summer. I think it makes sense for them. I mean, I don't think they're going to be going out there getting a Marc-Andre Fleury or anything like that. But they could maybe be in the market for Darcy Kemper. I kind of laugh just thinking of that, because why would he want to go to Jersey? But again, if the money's right and there's a fit there, I could see the Devils trying to get a goalie. I think that is a critical point for them this summer. And they could kind of evaluate the defense in the offseason. And I mean, is there scenario where they trade? I don't think they trade the second overall pick for a goalie. It's gonna probably be for a defenseman. An NHL-ready defenseman. Now, the question is, and I have to talk about this probably in another video, but, you know, what teams are out there that would even make that trade necessarily? Because I don't really see anybody out there that would do that. Now, again, this is in hindsight. If Tampa Bay maybe gets booted in the first round, they're running out of cap space. Is it Mikhail Sergachev, who's got his contract ends in 2023? Do the Devils maybe start swinging that way? I'm trying to think of who else would even be like of interest in that. I kind of struggle to find a team they could even do that kind of trade with. I mean, Colorado, again, I mean, do you try and get Devon? Yeah, they're not trading Devontae's. I mean, it's going to be interesting because I don't know what the market is out there here for the Devils to make that kind of trade. They have to find a team that's willing to trade a top-pairing defenseman and wants a second overall pick and can utilize that. And that's going to be kind of hard to find, but we'll see what happens, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think of the New Jersey Devils going into this summer? Do you think they keep their second overall pick? Do you think they trade it? Let me know what you guys think. And guys, also, we have some Goal Line Hockey channel news. TikTok. We are now officially on TikTok at Goal Line Hockey. No uppercase, no underscore, no space. Goal Line Hockey. I'll be posting some playoff stuff on there. I'll be, obviously posting the latest news around the league. And for some of you guys out there that want the news in a little bite-sized piece, we are doing that at Goal Line Hockey on TikTok. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Go Devs.